Okay, so it's time to do the daily dev videos and stuff. Before we start, I completely neglected to realize I haven't been releasing the armor mods. I've been showing off work I've been doing, and none of this stuff has been making it the curse, and I apologize for this. I pretty much let other people on the team do this, and I completely forgot to tell them to upload stuff, so we're probably going to hit this sometime this week. Get Armory uploaded, get the new ICBM builds uploaded. I'm pretty much at this point finished with the node conversion of at least the major parts of ICBM. I gotta go do some of the other parts. There's like I think another 3 or 4 tiles left to do, and I gotta rework all the items. But don't worry, this isn't gonna affect you guys. I'm gonna heavily test it. I'm probably gonna start getting the test pack back up, or maybe not the test pack. I might do the community pack first. For those that don't know, we have a community pack where we kind of made similar to kind of how the Forge team has their own little pack going on. We have one. I need to actually get that updated. We have a server that runs it in, or rather, the server runs Space Astronomy, but the community pack we want to make is basically Space Astronomy minus a few mods and added a whole bunch of other mods. When we get like Thaumcraft thrown up in there and stuff like that. Anyways, we'll go ahead and get back to work here. I've been doing work off of camera here. I've went through and cleaned up a lot of the GUIs. I still got to work on cleaning up the visuals. The visuals haven't changed any, but it's fully functional now. There's no longer a whole bunch of fake IDs and stuff going on. So if we scroll up here, those fake numbers we put up here, they're gone. The system on the server that made fake profiles is gone. I fixed the save system, so profiles actually save properly. You can create profiles now. You can add users, you can remove users. Although that's the part I kind of need to work on because I'm not 100% sure if it's working, and I'm kind of getting a little bit of error throwback from the server. I have been working on the error handling. I got to do a lot more work on the error handling because the profile system doesn't exactly tell you what's going wrong when it fails. It'll just go, hey, we didn't add the user, but it won't tell you why. So I've got to add error handling to tell me why it's breaking and a few other things. And we'll maybe hit up on that, but the main goal right now is to kind of show that the system is working and then fix whatever bugs that pop up. I haven't actually tested it since I removed this part. I actually just removed this and I went through and cleaned up everything that was calling it, but I haven't tested to see if it'll crash or not with this removed. I did that before I just headed out to the store here a bit and got some Wendy's. I haven't eaten at Wendy's in like 2 years. Oh man, that cheeseburger I got was amazing. I've been eating McDonald's cheeseburgers. It's about the only thing I've been eating cheeseburger-wise. And I go from eating that to eating a Wendy's cheeseburger, and even though it's like $5 for a cheeseburger, ah man, that was amazing tasting. I just had to add that because I'm not used to good food. I eat ramen noodles most of the time. I've actually started switching eating rice a lot too because it's cheaper. I hate the fact that I don't have a huge amount of money. But I was like, fuck it, $5. I'll figure out some place to get $5 to pay for that. So I dug around my couch cushions and dug around my car a bit and found a whole bunch of quarters and stuff. And my brother was laughing at me because I bought a $5 cheeseburger, then he bought like $6 worth of food, and he got a whole bunch of cheeseburgers and fries, and I just got a single cheeseburger and a Frosty. Although I gotta admit that Frosty was also good. Especially when you consider the fact that I have trouble eating ice cream because I'm not necessarily lactose intolerant because I'm not. I can actually eat it without a problem, but my brain thinks it is. So every time I try to eat anything that's dairy or anything milk related, I can very easily vomit because I had a really horrible run-in with some really shitty goat ice cream a few years back, and my brain just constantly remembers that. Anyways, open this up. So we got a new profile button here, and we got a refresh button. So we've run refresh. I've got no profiles. I'm a new character ID. If I actually click this, it shows me as player 10 something. Let's actually fix that real quick. I'm gonna hit edit configuration. I'm going to drag this off screen real quick so that way, well actually there's no point because you can see the IDs right there now. Why isn't that working? I'll figure it out later. So yeah, we're new profile, so we need to create something. Nothing's labeled right now. We got to add labels here in a bit, but if you just make a profile, call it GG, hit save, it'll show up there. You can click it. If I go to the owner group, I'm in the owner group. I've changed it so you can't remove yourself, although I think I showed that in the last video. You can add more players, so I can type in here and actually do stuff, but we're going to go to the user group and do that real quick. So we'll add, say, cow as something, and we'll add Mo. And they don't update here because I have to actually click refresh. We'll be fixing that. But you see Mo and cow are both added if I remove them, so hit yes. Why does it take me to that screen? Oh well. No, that's not the button I want. I gotta fix that, because that's a pretty weird thing. But if you go there, it's removed. So the last GUI we should have been on was the group GUI. Trying to think of what we messed up here. So we click. We're now on the user list, which we get here. Which, by the way, there's some weird rendering problems. You see how we got a double thing here? There's quite a bit of work that needs to be done. Every time we open a GUI, we reinitialize it. But because we're reinitializing, we're not clearing out stuff properly, so you'll see that issue here. But let's go ahead. So we go back one GUI. Yeah, that's good. The back button's working perfectly fine. We click user. We're in here. We click delete. Then we click yes. And you notice how it'll show the name of the person and it'll show what group you're removing from. But then when we get this, it some reason takes us back to the create profile GUI. Why does it think that's the last GUI that was opened? Okay. So we need to figure out what's causing this problem, because this is the first problem. Because we know the remove's actually working, but for some reason it's taking us to the wrong GUI. So this has got to be in here somewhere. Maybe current frame dot last open GUI equals null. Maybe it's also this last GUI equals null. Although that's going to cause some hierarchy problems, but no, we need to figure out why this actually is doing what it's doing, because we don't want to screw the hierarchy up. But if we do, if we do set our current frame to null, we do want to kill the hierarchy off. So we do want to do this. But somewhere in here we're getting a problem. So let's do this. We'll flag here. Okay, there was no last GUI on that, but if we hit refresh, open this up, that should have actually triggered. And if we go user, we did have a last GUI. Our last GUI was GUI frame groups, which our last GUI technically should have been null, because we just clicked this to open that. Our current frame is GUI frame users. It then had a last frame marked as GUI frame group somehow. So we come off here. We're hiding the group frame, which is okay. We're then setting our current frame. Okay, we're initializing it. We're updating its position. We're showing it. We add a return. Our return is course to group frame. Let's then keep following this until we get back out to our exit point. So our exit point is load frame, new frame GUI users. Somehow, even though we just created this, it got set with its last frame. And that's unusual because it's a brand new frame. So nothing should have set this as with the last frame being the group user frame. But indeed, it got set that way. I'm not seeing anywhere in here that could be setting it, which is unusual. Yeah, we tell it to store the last frame. Group ID. Yeah, there's nothing weird going on in here. Yeah, that looks okay. We'll play on it. Okay, we hit back. Back should set our last frame to okay, our last frame was group users, so that's good. Our current frame is now GUI groups. We re-add it to our GUI because it got removed from the GUI. Well, I'm confused how the group add got added to the GUI, so there's something going on here that's not being set up properly. We're gonna have to really look at that a bit more. Anyways, keep on here, yeah. So it's working through this whole system correctly. So we're on here, and now if I click, say, friendly, it still says our last is group frame. So what is setting our last GUI? Or no, actually, never mind. My brain's playing stupid on me. Okay, our last frame is our current frame. This needs to be This needs to be renamed from last to previous opened frame. Instead of last frame making me think it's this variable we were actually toying with. So if we hit play and we go through that, that should be fine. Okay, so we're good. So that's current frame. I guess that's fine. That part's good. Let's go to user. Let's go ahead and add something here. We need to make this update too, by the way, but I have to write packets for that, so I'm not going to do that today. So if we hit refresh, open this up, we go to user. We kill off our user, so we hit yes. Now this is the one I actually do want to keep track of and see what's going on here. So I hit yes. Our last frame was group users. Our current frame is yes, no. So the one we actually want to open is group users. And if we follow it down, that looks good. We actually don't need this line anymore. That's obsolete. We fire the packet, which is good. Load frame. Okay, we're good. Hit play. It gets fired again by the group user frame. So our current frame is group users. The frame we're wanting to load is new profile. What are we looking at here? So we're looking at action performed. We're getting a throwback on action performed somehow from something. It's coming from mouse click. It's coming down in here, which is our GUI access system, and we're getting called by our ID, which is 1. This is why our GUI is opening up. For some reason, we're triggering packet 1 for our new profile, but how is this being triggered? That new button, if we open up our thing, is all the way up here, and we clicked right here. All the way up here, right here. So we're getting some kind of packet flow through issue. Our button is yes, no frame. I'm going to start just checking against physical buttons here in a second if I keep having this problem. Because that'd be the easiest way to actually do this. Because if you go button equals whatever button you have, then you won't have a problem. I used to do that for a lot of my GUIs because this was a weird behavioral system. Because when you do real Java GUIs, you don't necessarily check against an ID. The closest thing you have to an ID system in a real Java GUI is an action call. So you would have some kind of action call which would be a string, and that would be the name of the command you want to fire. So for example, you'd have one called save, you'd have one called load, exit, stuff like that. And that way you don't have to recode every single feature and button with its own custom handler. You just call an action and the action is pre-coded. But we're getting a callback from the button GUI for our GUI. Okay, I think I know how to fix this. Where's my yes, no dialog? Okay, see the button ID here? We're going to have to recode it real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to terminate the Minecraft client. I'm going to handle this in a different way just so I can not have to worry about it. So we're going to do this real quick. We'll go yes, no dialog. We're going to throw it up here. I'm going to have to revisit this later, but this is one of those bugs that just would literally take me hours to handle. So we're going to set its ID to -1, which basically means it won't get passed back. And we're going to go yes, no dialog equals button. And this way we don't even have to check if instance of. Yeah, that'll work. It'll load our frame. It's still a bit weird how we're getting a callback here, because if this action perform comes through, it should empty out where it's not being run. So what happened? It might be the yes/no dialog. So let's take a look at the yes/no dialog. So let's take a, yeah, we're going to put a thumb here, so we can take a look at that. I felt like there's a piece missing here. Oh, state equals, okay, that's the part I'm looking for, is the state equals button ID, which will handle these two. We'll start with that spot right there, and we'll see what's going on, why it's flowing back. If it takes us longer than maybe a few minutes to figure this out, then we're just going to go back to working on the overall GUIs. Because I got to get refreshing working. I got to make sure the profiles are synced. I got to figure out some way to get my profile loading up here so it stops resetting on me. I'm going to Google that while it's loading, actually. Okay, so maybe what, Minecraft, modding. That's a quick start guide for modding. Create a partner verified tinking account. Set up your server, add a friend. This must be for somebody's server system. Yeah, it's for somebody's server system. Oh, man. Okay. So what I want is Minecraft, Forge, modding, setting, username. That might work. Advanced block something. Creating a Forge root, Gradle, workspace, main class, arguments, ignore invalid Minecraft certs. This is for Minecraft 1.6, I believe. There's an access token and there's a mods test. Okay, note the 1.6 does not define the Minecraft version, so never. I don't want my password showing up in here because I know somebody would be watching this and they would just grab my password, which is I think the original way I got my account hacked the first time is I used to have this in here. Still gotta have the program arguments. I don't want my password in here. There's an access token which we could just use. Let's just try username. We'll set the username to something here in a bit and we'll see if that works. Now, if I can't figure this out, I'm gonna have to go ask somebody. I used to know how to do it, but I want some version that doesn't use my password. Because, I mean, after getting my account hacked 3 times in a row, I'm just done with trying to utilize my main account on my programming workspace. So let's see. Of course, we don't have anything to reload. By the way, I did forgot to mention, we do have a packet received event now, so it'll actually tell you when you're receiving packets. Okay, let's get rid of that. Debug line. And we'll create another one called GG, save, open, user, add. Of course it won't reload. I gotta do something to cause this to reload. The way to reload it would be to resend the profile. So packet access. I think I already have code for this, but I don't think I implemented it. Yeah, because there's a huge cluster here, which is the reason I didn't implement it. So I'm going to go else send profile to client. No, not send all profile. Send. Yeah, that's the reason I didn't add it, because I need to write a method for this. So it's first, rather than dealing with this, I'm going to go just Control-Z that so it loads and make sure it doesn't error out on me. We want to just refresh this real quick. Pick our thing, which by the way, I fixed the refresh thing. I forgot to note that when you hit refresh, it actually unsets your profile. The previous version wasn't doing that, which would have become a bug after a while. So we got this. We're going to click yes, and we want to get our thing here. So it'll hit the break line. We'll get our current state. Okay, it's going to send action performed to the parent class, which is user entry. So we're going to pass through this, and that will grab our action performed here. So we want to follow it all the way through. And of course it fires off some forge events here. Ah, this is why it's doing what it's doing. I need to rewrite this class. Because this means we'll get an action perform callback on all of our stuff. And what we want to do is to not receive an action perform callback. There's a way to do this. I'm trying to think of how to handle it. I think if we just use the -1, it'll fix itself. See, we're back at our GUI wanted to be, except it hasn't refreshed yet. We'll have to add some refresh code here. So we'll go ahead and close this. We'll do the refresh code, but we at least fixed it, so we know what's causing it now. There's a callback right here. This is running as intended. That's the problem. This is actually running exactly how it should run. But maybe I need to just translate it into a state system. The problem with doing that is the buttons have their own mouse pressed call. I'll toy with it in a bit. That's how I'll handle it. Because what I need to do is I need some kind of state system that returns not only just if it's true, but was that button handled. So that way you don't get this action callback. The alternative is I need to come up with some kind of ID system so I'm not having conflicting IDs, but saying it to -1 would work. Because then you don't have to worry about getting a callback on that one, and I could recode the screen to ensure that any negative numbers aren't handled. Which, you know what, that would be a good way. So let's go to the screen real quick, and I'm going to go grab that. That way I can just, if anything, rewrite it real quick so it's a little cleaner looking. So we'll grab this, and we'll come up to the base here, override it. It wants to track the selected button. Can I not do that? Why is the selected button private, and why is there no way there's no way to handle it? That's what I don't like about Minecraft sometimes. So let's see where this is handled, see if I can just ignore it. So yeah, the only thing it's handled is a mouse up, so you got a mouse release event. Which we need, because I mean, if we want to do any really, really complicated buttons, we need a mouse release. I do have a way to fix this, but I don't want to do it right now. Because of the way I could fix this is there's a system built into Forge where I can change this from public to private, but then I have to rebuild my workspace in order to do it. that'll take me too long and is not for a video that's meant to be under an hour. So the solution would be just to make our own button select and then handle it on our own. So we'll do this. Make sure I rename this stuff too. Yeah, this is mouse. This is basically the same format, so it would be mouse X, mouse Y, that would be mouse key. Why? No, this is GUI button. That should be the only handling for that, so I don't have to do anything else. This is fire audio click, fire event of click, do forge stuff. Check if the event should be cancelled. Yeah, you can disable button clicks with Forge, which is kind of cool when you think about it. And then what we want to do, we want to go and GUI button dot ID is greater than or equal to 0, because this will just ignore all of the. Oh, actually, no, we don't want to do it here. There's a reason I don't want to do it here, because I need the Forge event to fire. And I need everything else, but it's the action performed is the one I don't want to fire. But we want the audio to fire, so that way we get that mouse click. See that nice click noise you get when you click buttons? And this will, of course, be other things. Like, we can change the audio in here if we want to, and I probably will. There will be some cool things I'll do with it later. Like missile fire audio and stuff. The rest of this looks good, though. So that should fix our issue. And what else were we doing? We were getting ready to... Oh, yeah, write a refresh packet. So let's close others real quick, and we'll come back to this. And what we want to do is we want to copy... So send profile to the client. We want to send the profile to the client, which is this one right here. Yeah, we want this whole lower half. We want to make a method out of it. So public void send profile to client, and there'll be entity player MP player, and there'll be string profile. Apparently access group is what I called it. This will be player. Need to stop coding when I'm half asleep. Okay, so that'll tell it to send a profile to client, and of course there's a couple other things we gotta do here. So we need to go to check if player can view profile, plus other things. There'll be some more restrictions implemented here. This be send profile to client player, and then access group. Okay, and then we can copy this. So every time we make a change, we want to send a profile update packet. So we're going to go else, send profile packet there. Send a profile packet there. This one, we just send the whole profile system to the client. But here's remove user from group. Here's add user. And you notice how big these packets are. It's the reason why I don't like to work on them a lot. Is this is a lot. It's a lot of work, a lot of error handling. You got to tell the client everything that goes wrong, everything that goes right. Of course, we have a packet up here too. We have to note to the client like when things are happening. This is actually going to be changed to an event log system. So you know how that text is written in the middle of the screen. It's not exactly nice, but I have that huge little section on the right that's available. I'm going to turn that to a log event system, so that way the profiles are going to keep track of who changed what, and that way you can go through and go like, hey, Billy edited this profile, and he shouldn't have been able to edit that profile. It'll give you some nice error feedback. It'll let you check to see who's messing with what. Because after all, these global profiles, just because you made the profile, doesn't mean somebody else isn't going to have access to it. Like if you add Billy as an owner or an admin, then he would also be able to get in there and change things. If you start adding moderators to your profiles, they'll be able to get in there and change things. Especially when I start doing stuff, because one of the big things this profile system can be used for is to replicate something like Townie. You can make a village and be like, hey, I have villagers, and the villagers include like Sam, Tom, and Bob. And then we have like constables, which would be your moderators, and you would have people on that. And then you would have your mayor would be the owner, of course, or your mayor would be an admin, and then your owner would be whoever owns the town, which would be whoever. And you would have subgroups attached to it. So you would have like the guy who owns the chocolate factory or something. Yeah, I made a Willy Wonka joke. But yeah, you'd have a lot of different things going on with that, and you'd work around it. And I'd love to see a lot more people use the permission system because it's good. I actually, at one point in time, had 3 or 4 people try to encourage me to merge this into Forge. Of course, I turned them down because I didn't see this being that beneficial. I definitely knew Lex wouldn't pull it in. I wasn't wrong on that one. They made their own permission system and got it rejected as well. Lex is not one of those type of people that will merge things into Minecraft unless he absolutely thinks they need to be in there. You can just take a look at Forge's development history, and the only thing that ever gets added is bug fixes and event calls. Occasionally we get something like a fluid system, which was highly desired by the entire community, and the new power system, which was highly desired by the community. We also got some other things too, which anything that gets added that isn't an event or a bug fix is usually because Lex and CPW were pressured into adding it. Although that doesn't mean they didn't agree with adding it, it just means that they probably didn't think it was the most ideal to be added in the first place, but then they agreed it was also useful. Therefore, they added it. Because if anything comes down to it, they can both hold their ground and nothing will get added. But I don't think they're that kind of much of a dicks. They're some pretty nice people. People used to give Lex shit all the time about being really hostile to users and stuff, but the fact is he's probably one of the nicest people you ever find or ever meet. Anyways, we go here. We should be able to add a user. Then if I come back out here, it's in there. So now the next thing we need to do is we just need to refresh the OpenGUI frame. Trying to think of the best way to handle that. Because we don't want to identify each frame individually. But there are a few options we have available. Let's go take a look at the code and see what's our best option. Because we're updating the client. So the client has been updated now. And the client would also be updated as soon as we add the packet handling system, which will be added. Well, I have to still add it. I'll get to it eventually, but what it'll come down to is we'll make a threaded object, and that threaded object will then update the client every couple ticks and be like, hey, here's the new changes. Here's the new changes. It'll mostly be event-driven though. So theoretically, every time I call send to profile to client, I probably should tell this send to clients, and then that way everybody who's got that profile open probably should get the packet as well. So we actually want to do the to-do. So that'll keep us from having to actually necessarily send the packet every single tick. It'll be event driven. So you'll be updating the client every couple ticks and stuff. But we want to, so we got group entry as one way to update this. Actually, the callbacks would actually have to drive the changes. We could just re-init the GUI. So whatever frame's open, just call init on it again. But that wouldn't work for the simple reason that if I'm getting ready to add a user and somebody adds a user before me, it'll wipe out my add user type in. So yeah, we want to make sure we don't clear fill. So we don't want to re-init a GUI, but we do want to refresh a GUI. So we're going to need to come up with some kind of refresh system and come up with some way to trigger that refresh. The simplest thing I can think of, and this would have to be in the array system. And the array system should already do this. I'm kind of curious why it doesn't. So we'll do this. If we hit Control F on this, we'll get the object that calls it. Yeah, there's an update system right here, and what it does is it goes entry count does not equal this. So reset up our stuff, reload our entries. So this is not running properly. So let's add another entry, and we'll call it ff add. This isn't getting called. Because it's working off of the GUI user array. That's why it's not working. So the array is working perfectly fine. What's not working is the fact that we cached our arrays. So this will be cached in our group user thing. So let's see. So this will be, it's not in here. Yeah, it's down here. So we need to do an update loop in here. So we need to go, yeah, there's an update call for this. And we just need to tell it that if the group changes, reload our stuff. So do super update mc mouse x mouse y. Add override. And we just want to go if so we go if group equals null, we want to go okay users equals null, and then we want to go get group dot get members dot size does not equal user count. And this isn't a perfect comparison, but it should work. This needs to be users doesn't equal null, and that. We'll leave a mark here to do check if exact match, which is going to be problematic. Well, most likely what we end up doing is doing like an every other check or something, or we'll go like if contains check. The length check will work most of the time. And what we need to do is group array dot refresh or reload entries. There it goes. And then I think I need to edit the user callback because yeah, it would crash right here. So it'd be this doesn't equal null. If not 0, and then we just need to make sure we add a couple null checks in a few different spots. So this one actually can be put up here. We just want to make sure we set the text name. So that way this would be like user, or this would literally just be get entity name index. That way we don't crash. Actually, you know what? This whole thing could be getting a new index here. So this would be if GUI.users doesn't equal null, then we do it this way. If not, we turn user.index back. Then that means we can switch this line to be like this, so we're not doing anything custom here, and we can then override this later if we wanted to. We also need to add one more thing here. We go to do check if user matches client player, then add. So we'll do that later. That's a really simple thing to add, but I got to do a couple checks to make it work. Anyways, we're going to have to restart Minecraft for these changes to take effect. But it should be good. And man, the wind is blowing outside. I was out there earlier before I started recording, and I let the dog out there, and then there's a gust of wind, and one of the bushes just literally leans by like 30 degrees, and the dog thinks it's a monster, and of course starts barking at it. Oh yeah, we almost tried to do something here. So I was opening up to change my user thing here. Let's get rid of that. I think it's access token is what that should be. I don't want to show my access token too, because I'm pretty sure an access token is basically your login, just hidden as a token system. So we're going to do a username and see if that works. So this needs to be, of course, we're just going to set the dark, and if it works, it'll work. This person is using asterisks on both of those. I wonder if there's a way to do that. So maybe this will work. I don't know. I'm hoping it works. I don't like the idea of my account keep switching to player some random number, because it makes it testing this stuff really difficult. I used to have a fake account for a while that, well, it actually wasn't a fake account. It was a real account that I used for fake stuff, because after the second time my account got hacked, I got another account. I gave it away to somebody, though. I don't remember who it was. I was like, here, I don't need this anymore. Have it. And they took it and, of course, changed all the emails and stuff on it. Which is what happened to my my Minecraft account. That was pretty scary, though. Is like, here, somebody's changed your username. It's like, oh, somebody's changed your email. It's like, oh, then I can't get logged in now, and I had to go contact support. And luckily, they were nice, and they got my account back each and every time. So 3 times lost it, 3 times got it back. Only once did they change my username, though. So like the first 2 times they got it hacked, they only changed the password on me. Of course, they logged into a couple servers too that I'm now probably permanently banned from, which I'm okay with. Still better than the time my Google account got hacked. That was pretty scary. Completely deleted tons and tons of my files. Luckily, I got all my stuff back from Google. Google keeps really nice backups of your stuff. So, what's my new username? Yes, it works. Okay. I'm a little too excited about that, but this means we can do some better testing. So we'll make a new profile. We'll call this profile 1. Hit save. Open this up. We can now add users to this. We'll add DD. It didn't refresh. Okay. You know why I didn't refresh? We have to remake this. And we'll make this out to prefab in a second. I have a better idea. Watch this. Delete that. That'll work. And we just need to set users to null. The reason I did that though is because when it comes down to its first update tick, it'll go, okay, our group equals, actually, you know what, this isn't gonna, I'll do it this way. Users equals null. Okay, that'll work. So if our group's null, it's going to set it to null down here because our group won't be null here. If our users is null, it'll run this check. If our users are not null and the size doesn't match, it'll run this again and it'll hit reload. So this should work if I hit reload. There we go, DD's added. If I add AA, DB, it works. So yeah, that's pretty straightforward, man. This is working pretty good. So if we go back and we go back into users, they're there. Let's go ahead and we're going to add, say, something here. We'll add a cow, chicken. We'll go up to hostile real quick. We'll add creeper. By the way, don't get the wrong idea. Adding the name creeper here will not make your sentry guns shoot creepers. This is entirely just player name driven. This is player stuff. Key thing to also note, when you do put a player name in here, it will attempt to find the player's UID on the server. At least it should. If it doesn't, we have to add that feature. So if you add a name here, you're not adding just a random name here. It will try to match it to a player account eventually. And then it will only use that player UID if possible, so that you don't have to worry about problems. So if somebody changes their username, it will attempt to switch their name back, and I will probably code it so that way if the UID matches but the username doesn't match, it will update the username automatically for you. I'm also going to try to do autocomplete with the add button, so if you add somebody's name and you're off by like a character, it'll try to autocomplete for you. If you're off by capitalization, it'll try to autocomplete for you. That'll be done via tab. I'm also planning on doing like a button you can hit here so you get all the players on the server. Those will be both online and offline, so you could just click somebody's name and add them. There will also be some checks and stuff for this. There'll be so much work here, but this is working. We hit refresh and it comes down. So refresh literally clears out this, so I know this is working here. So this is all server side stuff. So now what we want to do is we hit save and quit the game completely, and I'm going to go see if it saved it to the file system. So we're going to go to the Volts engine here. I update the file path. I don't know if I mentioned that already. So when we were looking at it earlier, we were in the saves, and if you went into the folder here, there was something called access, and that was your save folder. Now you go to BBM, now you go to access, now you go to profiles, and it saves all the profiles. Here's all the ones we've been making, by the way, and then here's the one we just made. So I'm going to actually delete the rest of these because they're no longer valid. It doesn't matter if you delete things in here, it does not matter if you add things in here, so you could drag a profile from another server and throw in here, and it would work. How the system runs is when it first loads, it's going to scan this entire folder and find everything, and then it'll load this up. And I want to see if I actually have this program on my computer. It should be like an NBT utility. That's not it. Let's see if I have it on my Dropbox account. Come on, Dropbox, close your little folder. There you go. Tools, probably a jar. It's not Bon. Probably an EX. UV mapper. This is the only way I know how to do UVs, by the way, is a UV mapper. Shaded GUI. NBT editor? Here it is. And if we go into this, it looks like it's got our profile ID here. It's got our name. We open up the entries here. We've got each group in here. It's got permission nodes attached to it. We want to find the one we just made, which actually if we go in here, we'll find the users. So if we got users, it goes username, permission 0, extra data 0. It's not saving the UIDs, but then again, we don't have a UID to start with. If we go down to the owner group, which is probably this bottom one, and I go find my user, yeah, it's got my UID in there. So it'll guaranteely ensure I'm always the owner of that group. Although the UID it gave me is a fake one. I believe that's denoted by that negative number on the front here. If we go to entries, it's got all my permission nodes, which I'm probably going to rewrite how permissions load, because notice how each one of these is an entry. This should be like an array is what that actually probably should be. It's got everything in here though. So if we go to users is one I want to actually look at and check all the users in there. They're all in there, so it's a working group. By the way, with this tool you can edit things. I don't know anything about that tool though. I got it from somewhere. It's a C program as far as I can tell because it's a DDL. Usually DDLs are C or C++ programs. Technically C# as well. Actually, there's a list of programs that can output DDLs, but more commonly it's usually C or C++. You know what? Actually, we'll do this real quick. Archive. That's a C program. By the way, I can only open the archive on this. I can't see whoever's code is in here. Only thing I can see is the manifest. I believe the code is one of these two things. It's probably this right here, which is text. Probably open that with Notepad. Probably going to crash Notepad, but I can open it up. It's unreadable garbage. Except there's a lot of actual readable stuff in there. A lot of readable stuff. So whatever compiler they used didn't take comments out. Or unless those are string literals. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Back to what we're doing. We got our stuff running, and I'm just going to close the video out here, and I'll come back here later with some more stuff.